guys, I'm Christy. I'm here to show you behind the scenes of an author's life. In this week, we'll be figuring out what the story structure is. What is a story structure? The method in which you are telling the story, also known as a narrative structure. The best way to think about the structure of the story is the blueprint of the story. All stories have a beginning, middle, and end. You will also need to know the lesson learned within the story. What will cause for a lesson the character have to learn? How the character will learn the lesson? How to use a story structure? Using a structure is to make sure you hit certain plot points within your story. This is also a way to plan your novel. Knowing what points to hit can guide you through the writing process. You do not want the journey to end a few pages after the main character started the journey. There are a few plot points to hit. When to focus on the structure? When do you have to focus on story structure? Some people will argue on this. You have the plotters and you have the pantsers. In other words, you have the people that plan their novels before they write the story, and people who will start writing a story after having an idea with no plans on how the story will go. Most writers want to have an idea on how the story needs to flow, but with no set plans for each part of the novel. This is where things get tricky. I cannot say focus on the story structure first, because there are discovery writers, people that write without a plan to figure out the story while they write it. The best answer I can give you is before you write the second draft. Have the story structure fully planned out when you will go to the second draft. Elements of a story structure. The elements are the plot points you need to hit in order to have a good flowing story. These elements are the beginning, middle, and end of the story, with what lesson the main character will learn, and how he or she will learn this lesson. You can even add why the main character will learn this lesson, and what happens to the character to start the journey to learn this lesson. Beginning. In this section, we learn who the main character is and how they live their lives before the events that forces them to go on this journey. After we know how the normal life is for your character, it is time to get your character on the journey of discovery. The question is, what happens to force your character into this journey? This will be as simple as a letter from a friend asking for help, or as complex as having someone making a bad decision. Now it's up to the main character to get back to how things was before the decision was made. Middle. It is time for the journey to begin. There are lots of twists and turns. What obstacle stands in the way to complete the journey? Remember there are small victories and failures to complete the journey. Can you think how you will struggle when you have to leave for another country without the internet for assistance? How are you going to get from one place to another without Google Maps? The end. How will your main character's journey end? What lesson will your main character have to learn? What is the big win or lose? Is there any loose ends to wrap up the lesson? What does your main character believe is true or false within his or her life? This can be somebody with special abilities that need to hide them from everybody. Why the lesson? This is simple. Either to accept or deny the truth. This can be for a few reasons. One is that the person set out to do in the beginning. It depends on what happens when your character is on the journey and needs to make the final decision. What will happen if a woman that enters a beauty contest and supposed to be eliminated after round 1 wins the competition? What will this woman believe now? She's the most beautiful woman, but the truth is she is not. The journey. This part of the story is unknown to the character. Things are not familiar to your character. How will your character react and find his or her way back to what is normal? This is normally the main plot within the story itself. Different story structures. To help with how you are going to plan the story, there are a few different options to choose from. Save the cat, snowflake method, the 3-act story structure, the corkboard method, goals, stakes and motivation, the 3-tags pyramid, the plot embryo, and no plan. Save the cat. These 15 beats or plot points help you with the pacing of your novel. Opening image, 0 to 1%. This is before everything starts. The image we get from how your main character lives. Themes stated, about 5%. A hint at what lesson your character will learn. The setup, 1 to 10%. We as readers learn more about your character, like how they are around other people at work, school, or even shops. Here we also learn about your character's flaws, wants, and needs. Catalyst 10%. Something is forcing your character into a completely new world. What is it? Can your character just ignore it? Can your character just ignore this change? No, it must be something big to throw the character into the change. Debate 10 to 20%. Your character would like to stay in the comfort zone. In this world, they know, but things must push them out to this new world because staying in this old world will not help with the big problem. Break into two, 20%. And so the journey begins with your character's own free will. B story about 22%. The side story or the subplot of the story starts. New characters are introduced that will help your character complete the journey. Fun and games 20 to 50%. This is the part where you deliver on what you promised your reader when they chase the book after reading the blurb. This can be finding the clues to the big mystery that your character is solving or carrying the knowledge and tools for the battle. Midpoint 50%. Your character has a false victory or a false defeat. This is where the stakes are raised even more and forces the character to focus on their goals. Bad guys close in 50 to 75%. Things are either easier or harder now than what it was in the fun and games section. If things was positive in the fun and games section, now it will be negative. All is lost 25%. Your character hits rock bottom in this beat. Something goes wrong that seems all against your character. Dark Night of the Soul. Here the character must first learn the lesson, the theme of the novel, before finding the new information. This bit of information is what the character needs to succeed. In the end, break into 3. Your character finally figures out what he or she must do to be able to succeed in the end. Finale 80 to 99%. Battle is won. We find out just how the character won and the goal is accomplished. And how will they have learned the theme of the story? Your character has no more problems to deal with. Final image 99 to 100%. A snapshot of how your character's life has changed. Snowflake method. This method is a method for you to keep expanding on the idea of the story. Start with the idea sentence of the novel. Expand that idea into a paragraph. Take your paragraph and expand it into a story summary. From here, you can come up with different plot points and expand on them. The more you can expand on the idea, the more you have to work from when you write the novel. The 3-act story structure. Act 1. What is the normal world for your character? This is where you introduce the main character and show how things are for them. The inciting incident is what gets your character to a new way of life, forcing them to go on some type of journey. This is the first 25% of your novel. Act 2. This part of the story is half of the book's length. 26 to 75% of the novel. This is the ups and downs of what the character is facing in this new way of life. The character will be working towards a goal in this part of the novel. Act 3. From the final few things to prep, the goal is almost reached. One massive obstacle stands between your character and the way back to their normal lives. They will overcome this obstacle and be able to go home. The corkboard method. You come up with a series of events. Write down what happens in the novel and you give each event a place when it will happen in the novel. You can start with the first 5 things that can happen and change your plans as you write. The main thing is to come up with a series of events that can happen one after the other. You start with your character is in the beginning and where you would like your character to be in the end of the novel. Between the beginning and the end, what must happen and in what order for the character to end up where you want him to. This option is more like the goal planning and the process of how the character will get there, with a few struggles in between as well. Goal, stakes and motivation. Your character has a goal and is focused on achieving their goal. This can be a simple goal or a complex goal to achieve. There are many obstacles in their way to achieve their goal. Normally, it will be a difficult goal, or the obstacles are difficult to overcome. For that, your character must be motivated to want to achieve that goal. If the character cannot achieve the goal, this can make things worse. This is the stakes. What will the character lose if the goal is not achieved. It can be a woman loses the man of her dreams, or the character could die. Rorschach's pyramid. The plotting pyramid, the first type of plotting structures I have learned to plan my novels with. This is also the simplest one to follow for those of you who do not want to plan their novels. Introduction. How your main character's life is before the action of the journey starts. This will change at the end of the section with the inciting incident. Raising action. From the inciting incident, your main character faces all the challenges having their normal world being thrown upside down. Your main character will also find something to work towards, like making that last flight to safety or the last fight be set free. Your character will find ways that help with achieving the goal and what does not. Climax. This is where your character have learned the lesson he or she needs to learn. If there is a bad guy to be defeated, this is where your character does it. Final action. Your character may take a 5-minute breather to soak in or think about what just happened and have them experience the aftermath of the victory. Conclusion. All the loose ends must be wrapped up. This is where the story ends. This is the result of the lessons learned, the journey shown up. The plot embryo. You. Learning how the main character is, what a normal life, and what is normal for him or her. Need. Something is not right, and that needs to change. This change becomes the main character's focus. Go. The main character goes on an adventure or sets out to start achieving this goal. Research. The main character must learn to adapt to this new world. Find. The main character finds what he or she was looking for. Take. The main character takes what he or she wants but pays a price for it. Return. Main character goes home with what he or she set out to be. Change. The main character is a changed person in the end. External journey, known world. The sections of the embryo that falls under this section is given, return, wait, change, one, you, two, need. This is what the main character is used to. The familiar world, the character. Unknown world. The sections of the embryo that falls under this section is 3 go for research, 5 find, 6 take. This is what your character does not know. It is the unfamiliar to your character. Internal change. Basis. The sections of the embryo that falls under this section is 1 you, 2 need, 3 go for research. The main character does not learn the lesson he or she must learn to succeed. Change. The sections of the embryo that falls under this section is 5 find, 6 take, 7 research, 7 return, 8 change. The main character does learn the lesson and embrace the change. No plan. He wants to do a bunch of work after getting an idea of a story. Just write the story. No amount of prep work is worth it. You can worry about all those problems in the editing phase of your novel.